Welcome back to my channel. So I would be starting with sexual reproduction in plants today. So first of all, you should know what sexual reproduction is. So when reproduction takes place as a result of fusion of two gametes is known as sexual reproduction. So whenever we have fusion of two gametes, it is known as sexual reproduction, or you can say fertilization, because the process of fusion of male and female gamete is known as fertilization. So fusion of male and female gamete is known as fertilization. So you must know what fertilization is. So it is the process of fusion of male and female gamete is known as fertilization. Then I would be starting with sexual reproduction in plants first. So let us look at what reproductive parts of plants are. So the first one in this case is stamen, that is the male part. And in male part they have two parts. One is anther and another is filament. So this is the male part of flower. Then in the female part it is carpel. It is also known as stigma as well. So female part is divided into three parts, that is stigma first, then style, that is the tube-like structure, and in the end they have ovary. So female part is divided into three parts, that is stigma, style, and ovary. Whereas stamen has two parts, one is anther and another is filament. Anther actually produces pollen grains, which are also known as male gametes. Pollen grains are known as male gametes. Whereas in female parts, the female gamete is ova or ovule, you can say, or you can write egg cell. So female gamete is ovule and male gamete is pollen grains that is produced in anther, whereas female cells are in ovary. So this is about female part and male part. Then we need to talk about different flowers we have. In flowers, first is bisexual flowers and another is unisexual flowers. So bisexual flowers are those which have both male and female reproductive organs. As in this case you can see in this flower we have male part as well as female part. That means this type of flower is bisexual flower. And when we talk about unisexual flowers, they either have one part that is male or female part. It would have only one part, that is stamen or either carpel, sorry. Now moving on to the how they reproduce. So in this case we have shown you some figure that relates to the sexual reproduction in plants. So the first step, as you can see, the anther produces pollen grains that contain sperm nuclei. Now these anthers or pollen grains are transferred to the flower which have female characteristics. So in this case you can see there is stigma, then style, then ovary. So this pollen comes into contact of stigma and goes through this style part and fused in the ovary where they have egg cells. And when pollen and egg cells fuse together they get fertilized, and when they fertilize they form uh, the fertilized egg becomes embryo of seed. So when seed germinates to produce plant, a mature plant produces flower again. So this is how they reproduce. Let's start with pollination. So first of all, you should know what pollination is. So pollination is transfer of pollens which is achieved by agents like wind, water or animals. Now there are two types. One is self-pollination and another is cross-pollination. So in self-pollination, it is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower born on the same plant. Now, in cross-pollination, it is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower borne on a different plant of the same species. Now, in self-pollination, they does not require any external agency. So basically, in this case, no external agent is required in self-pollination, whereas in cross-pollination, they require external agent. They are always required in cross-pollination. Now, in self-pollination, both anthers and stigmas mature at the same time, whereas in cross-pollination, anthers and stigmas mature at different times. And in self-pollination, they occur even when the flower is closed. In cross-pollination, it occurs only when the flower is open. In self-pollination, there is no variation. In cross-pollination, they introduce variations. So that's a better one, the cross-pollination. Now, with reproduction in human beings, so as you know that humans reproduce by sexual method. So the type is sexual reproduction. Now for this, as you know, we need male gamete and female gamete. So in male gamete, we have sperms. Male gamete is known as sperm, and the female gamete is known as ova. Ova, or you can write egg. Now, in this case, I will be starting with male reproductive system. So, the male germ cell is also known as sperms, and it takes place in the testes. That is male reproductive organ. So, this is testes. This is the male reproductive system. Now, first of all, you should know what is male germ cell. As stated earlier, it is sperm. Then you should know what is male reproductive organ, that is testes. Now, a pair of testes, as you can see, these are the testes. So, a pair of testes are located inside scrotum, which is present outside the abdominal cavity, and the scrotum has a relatively low temperature needed for the production of sperms by testes. So, the testes produce sperms. Now, testes release a male sex hormone called testosterone, and its function is to regulate the production of sperms. The first is regulate the production of sperms. Then the second is bring about changes in appearance seen in boys at the time of puberty. So basically helps in causing puberty. So you should know what male germ cell is, that is sperms. You should know male reproductive organ, that is testes. And testes releases a male sex hormone called testosterone, and its function is to regulate the production of sperm. And second is to bring about changes in the boys at the time of puberty. So the third thing you should know is the testes are covered in layer of scrotum. So scrotum actually has a relatively low temperature needed for the production of sperms by testes. So that's what you need to know about male reproductive system. Now the second one is female reproductive system. So in this case you should know about female germ cell, that is eggs, or you can say ovas. They are produced by ovaries. These are the ovaries which produce ova or eggs. So when a girl is born, the ovaries already contain immature eggs. Now at the time of puberty, some of these eggs start maturing and one egg is produced every month by one of the ovaries. So they start providing with ovas which start maturing, and they pass through the fallopian tube and goes towards the region of uterus. Now this egg is carried from the ovary to the womb through a fallopian tube. These fallopian tubes unite into an elastic bag-like structure. It is also known as uterus, the middle part that is drawn with the help of red color. Now, the second thing you should know is about menstruation. So, in this, we have immature eggs. When get matured, they come into the region of uterus, and as you know that uterus is richly supplied with blood to nourish the growing embryo. If in this case the egg is not fertilized, if egg is not fertilized with male germ cell, then the menstruation is there. It is at the regular interval of 28 days. So this causes bleeding through vagina. Now, if suppose this cell gets fertilized with male germ cell, there will be an embryo. If there is egg and gets fertilized with sperm, it forms embryo. Now, as you know, the embryo is connected through mother's blood, and embryo gets all the nutrition from the mother's blood with the help of a special tissue called placenta. And this special tissue the helps the embryo to grow further, and it provides a large surface area for glucose and oxygen to pass from the mother to the embryo, and similarly the waste from developing embryo are removed to the mother's blood through placenta. Now the second term you should know is gestation, gestation period. Now, gestation period is the time period from fertilization up to birth of the baby. That is 9 months or 36 weeks. Sorry. Now, the first term we learnt is menstruation, and when the sexual cycle in a woman continues up to the age of 45 to 50 years, that is the end of the menstruation cycle, and it is known as menopause. The starting is known as menstruation, and at the age of 45 to 50 years, so when the this bleeding stops, it is also known as menopause, or you can say this is the end of the reproductive life of a woman. Now, next is reproductive health. So reproductive health means a total well-being in all aspects of reproductive life, that is physical, emotional, social and behavior wise. Now, in order to avoid pregnancy, there are some contraception methods, like the first one I would be talking about is physical barrier. Physical barriers basically helps in the prevention of union of sperm and egg, to prevent union of sperm and egg. In this case, humans can use condoms, diaphragm and cervical caps in order to prevent pregnancy. Now, the second is surgical method. In this case, we have two types. One is vasectomy, another is tubectomy. So in vasectomy, it is for male actually. In this case, the vas deferens of male is blocked to prevent sperm transfer. So they block the passage of vas deferens so that the sperm cannot transfer through the vas deferens. Then in tubectomy, it is for female. The fallopian tube of female is blocked to prevent egg to reach uterus. So they block the pathway of the eggs so that they does not reach to the uterus. So these are the surgical methods we have in human beings. Now the third one, method, in this we have oral contraceptives. These are the medicines women take so that they can change the hormonal balance to check the egg release in females. So these are used by females. These are also known as oral contraceptives. Then the fourth one is IUCD. In this case, it is also known as intrauterine contraceptive device. In this case, we have a device for females. So it is known as copper T. IUCD. First of all, you should know the full form of IUCD. It is intrauterine contraceptive device. In this, the first example I'm giving you is copper T, or it is also known as loop, which is placed in uterus to prevent pregnancy. So these are the four methods we have in reproductive health. First one is physical barrier. In this case, they prevent the union of sperm and egg. In the second one, we have surgical method, that is vasectomy in male and tubectomy in female. The third one is chemical method. In this, we have oral contraceptives, which changes the hormonal balance to check the egg release in females. In the fourth one, we have IUCD. It is also known as intrauterine contraceptive device. In this, we have one example, that is copper T. So copper T is actually placed in uterus to prevent pregnancy. Now we have some sexually transmitted diseases. So there are two types again. One is viral STDs and other is bacterial. So STDs, you should know the full form of STDs as well. These are sexually transmitted diseases. So the one is with bacterial, caused by bacteria. Bacteria STDs are syphilis, and another is gonorrhea, and the second one is viral STDs, also known as viral STDs, like HIV, AIDS, or warts. So these are the examples of STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. So that's all for the chapter number 8. Thank you for watching video.